This episode is sponsored by Realtor.com, who wants you to take advantage of your free profile on Realtor.com. By claiming and completing your free profile, adding a photo, and all of the information that puts you head and shoulders above the competition, you're on your way to receiving free leads, helping search engines find you, and staying top of mind with past clients. To learn more about claiming your free profile, go to Realtor.com/profile.
Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today, we have two very special guests. I always love when I get to interview not one, but two guests for you guys today. And we're really excited to have them on because we are going to be talking about diving into our new consumer campaign called We'll Get You There. This is, like I mentioned, our new Ohio Realtors consumer campaign that launched a few months ago back in March. And I would like to welcome on our special guests who are going to be talking about the campaign with us today. We are welcoming back Ralph Mantica, who is our 2023 Ohio Realtors president. Ralph, welcome back to the show.
Allison, thank you.
Always love having you on and talking to you. And I would like to welcome our special guest, Mac Joseph, who is Senior Vice President at Paul Worth Associates. They are the company who is helping us with this campaign. Mac, welcome onto the show.
Thank you, Allison. Great to be here with you and Ralph.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you guys on, as I mentioned, and to dive into this campaign. Ralph, I'd like to kind of start with the beginning because this is something that you've been really passionate about for a while now. I know you have made this kind of a pillar of your year of presidency. So I would love to hear a little bit more from you about kind of your thought process, your perspective on why you wanted to do this campaign and why it was so important to your presidency this year.
Well, thanks, Allison. And it is one of my major pillars of my presidency. When I have to go back and think about it, I mean, I when I was running 4 years ago now, or 3 years ago, it was one of the things I ran on, saying that realtors do so much in their communities. We do so much work in our communities for our clients, and we never tell our stories. We invest in our communities, and we never tell anybody about that investment. I always felt that we're preaching to the choir because we keep telling ourselves our stories, but we're not telling our clients and the public our story. And I really felt that it was time that we take this Main Street and basically tell our story to the people around that we're helping and let them tell a story about us, that how we help them. It's a two-way street. And when you hear some of these stories, it's pretty remarkable of kind of how this thing is really evolving.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, when we talked at the beginning of the year, just about your year and about this initiative, you said there's so many stories out there that are existing. We just need to do a better job as realtors telling this story. And I think that this campaign is really one of the great ways and tools that we have available to really start telling our story. And I think, that's kind of your mindset with this too, Ralph. We know this exists. We just need to get out there and start telling it.
Correct. And I was fortunate enough that the leadership at the time, Seth Task and John Mangus, kind of gave us an okay to start this. I mean, the membership voted for an assessment. This is their program. This is their dollars at work here. It's not something that's just, coming out of left field. They wanted this as much as everybody else. And that's what's really cool about it, is seeing the membership investment and commitment. And now the hard part is the implementation of telling our story.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we wanted to reach out to experts in the field that kind of knew us already, kind of knew who we are as an association. And Paul Worth Associates here in Columbus They have worked with us on the Greg Rabchek for Treasurer campaign. And so they had a pretty good idea and feel of who we are as an organization and a company. So they were someone that we felt could do a really good job at this and really help bring Ralph's vision to life. So that's when we reached out to Paul Worth and said, help us with this. This is our idea. This is Ralph's vision. Where do we go from here? And Mac, you're going to kind of share a little bit from your experience and your perspective of, where we even begin with doing something like this, and walk us through a little bit of the process and what all went into this campaign before anything even started to happen on the creative side of things.
Yeah, Allison, thank you for that tee up. And Ralph and peers and the leadership really set the tone from the outset. I mean, they set up a process for us that was very easy. A lot of organizations want to get their message out there and they want to get it out there 5 minutes ago. Ralph said, look, we need to tell our stories. We need to do this the right way. This is something that we're not trying to push out for 30 days and then never see it again. This is an investment. And as he said, this is the members' investment. And, we take that to heart. So this is really great. And talking about that member investment, this ultimately has been a member and public driven campaign. And I'll share what I mean by that. But essentially, we started with our own thoughts and perhaps some assumptions, but we had an opportunity, Ralph, and we joined you all at the September conference up in Cleveland, and we had a chance to sit down with about 20 realtor colleagues and hear from them in kind of small focus groups. We did 7 focus groups over the course of the day. We really appreciate their time. And we heard a lot of really interesting things. Well, first and foremost, I was struck by the passion of all the realtors we spoke with. They care. They are putting in the work. They're grinding. They're hustling. They're making sure they're investing time and real dollar resources up front before any promise of result comes from it. And yes, that's a job and it's a career, but it also is a passion. And that came through loud and clear. And I was really, really struck by that. I think that there was some sense at the time from some of these folks that, as Ralph said, perhaps some of those stories weren't getting out there. Perhaps some of the community didn't recognize how hard we work, or it isn't just about the commission check and things of that nature. I also heard loud and clear from this group that realtors are committed before, during, what you would expect, the transaction, but also after. And that was also really unique. And that's been my experience working with realtors at a personal level in the state of Ohio. And they're also committed and just incredibly passionate about their communities. Ralph mentioned that as well. And Ralph knows that. He lives it. He sees it amongst your tens of thousands of peers across the state. But that was really fascinating. So that was a set of our insights at the focus groups. And that effectively served as our baseline moving forward.
Yeah, and I love that you guys were able to make it up to the convention, because that's such an important event for Ohio Realtors, and the fact that you all were there and got to kind of experience, our major signature event. I think that was really cool. And to all you guys listening who participated in those focus groups, thank you again for taking your time out of the busy convention schedule. We all know how back to back things are there, but thank you guys for meeting with Mac and his team and for sharing your thoughts and insights. It was really important, and we wanted to take the time to hear from you all before we even thought about what this campaign may look like. Like we mentioned, we want to make sure that this is a campaign built for you all, that you all can feel good about and feel invested enough in to go and use it on your own. So it was really important that we talked to you guys. And that was kind of the first part of the research phase. We didn't stop there. There were a few other layers that we went to as far as the research stage went. So what did we do after the focus groups, Mac?
Yeah, thank you, Allison. And we have so many pages of notes from the convention focus groups. It was so great. We followed that up very quickly with some stakeholder interviews. With a focus group with a few people around the table, you get a different type of dialogue than you would get if it's a one-on-one conversation. So we followed this up with some one-on-one interviews. We spoke with 10 individuals, predominantly realtors, but folks inside the organization and out. And again, we heard, and it was just reinforced very clearly, the subject matter expertise that realtors bring to the table, that bring to every single transaction, guiding folks through the process. And we're talking about expertise as a professional in the marketplace, understanding trends, understanding data, but also experts in the process. This is a very complicated process. I mean, the amount of forms the folks that have transacted, let's say on a home or something, the amount of forms you're signing at the very end, that
Your stack of paper is like
yeah, oh my
inches
gosh.
thick.
I don't know how individuals can understand what all these things do, but realtors do. They understand the process. So, that stood out very clearly. And then again, there was this notion, this sense that maybe the public could understand a little bit more about what we do as professionals and what we bring to the table. That kind of completed our internal facing conversations that powered forward. And what comes next that you're alluding to, Allison, was really exciting. And that was a public opinion poll, a survey out to Ohioans. A random, assigned, statistically relevant group of Ohioans completed a 7-minute survey. And we asked them a ton of questions. It was a great mix of all demographic segments, of geographic segments, urban, suburban, and rural peers across the state. That was a really interesting process because we gave them every opportunity to speak positively and also tell us if they feel that some of these feared perceptions from the realtor community that we spoke with, those folks we spoke with, would be validated through something like this. And what we found was that Ohioans think extremely highly of the realtors and the professionals in this state. Now, we weren't sure which way this was going to go because there's national research out there. There's research from other states. We wanted to know what was going on in our own backyard. Ultimately, this campaign is going to be talking to the people in our backyard. We wanted to know what they felt. If I can give you just some of the statistics.
Yeah, no, I'm dying to dive into what we found in this survey.
It was really, really fantastic. So 84% of Ohioans were satisfied with their last experience using a real estate agent. Just 2 in 10 residents think that being a real estate agent is easy. That's only 2 out of 10 people. We understand and we could kind of extrapolate and say, gosh, there might be this dialogue out there that being a realtor is so easy. All you have to do is put a sign in the yard. The majority of Ohioans disagree with that premise. 74% felt that their realtor earned their commission. And I love this. We gave a whole host of words, descriptive words to say, well, how would rank these or select those which you think best represent realtors in your community. And the top 4 words were professional, knowledgeable, helpful, and experienced. I'm sure there are other words we want in there, right, to represent our realtors. But if we can get those 4 words across without doing anything, as far as a campaign standpoint, this is the result of all the hard work that realtors put in every single day and making an impact on lives. And that was really fantastic.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the coolest thing about this survey was, we didn't know what we were going to expect. We knew, some of the stereotypes that were out there, some of the ways that realtors view themselves or think that they're viewed, cannot always be in the most positive of lights. So we had no idea what we were going to get back. We could have got this survey back and it said, I hated my realtor and they didn't do anything for me. It was a terrible experience. And this was so overwhelmingly positive when we got these results back and we were sitting there and analyzing everything. I mean, we were taken aback too, just by how overwhelmingly positive this state views our profession. And that kind of set us up in a really great way, but maybe a different way than where we maybe had originally thought this campaign was going to head. We almost walked into this like we might have to do a whole campaign to repair our reputation. And instead, we took on a whole different light with this campaign because of this survey results, because we were already in such a good place as far as our public perception was. So that made us feel really good as Ohio Realtors. And I think our members should feel really good about that too. I mean, just some of those stats you mentioned, Mac, 84% loved working with their realtor, would want to do it again. I think that just goes to show that we are creating such a great experience for our clients that they are ranking us at that high of a percent. So we were really, really excited and pleased about this feedback. And I think you all were too, because we didn't know really what to expect. And to get back such high numbers and such positivity from this was really a cool thing to see, I think.
Yeah, it really was. And I think it really set a tone, as you said, for what kind of campaign are we looking to develop? And this allows us to be much more confident on the positive and being more proactive with some of these messages. Another thing that we learned in the survey was that firsthand experiences, friends, families, and neighbors, also, those were the biggest factors in determining how we as Ohioans feel about our local realtor. So we also wanted to create a campaign that really connects the realtor and draw a very short line between that story that we're telling and goes back to the stories. And that was what Ralph wanted all along. And he anticipated correctly. This is about storytelling. Let's draw the closest line possible between the content of any sort of advertising campaign or content campaign we're putting out there and the audience. So it feels authentic. Leveraging authentic voices. Everything in the campaign is user-generated content. We're not taking stock photography, photos from other states and trying to put it in here. What you're seeing is content from Ohio. And I think that's really important. And we want to tell real stories. When we get to tell stories through the lens of this campaign, we want to tell real impact stories, the real story of an individual looking for their first home, the real story of an individual looking to set up their business, take it out of their dining room into a real commercial space for the first time. And that being solved through the expert guidance of a realtor in Ohio.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations. Looking for a stress-free way to manage your investment properties? Do you want to save your business time and money? If so, you might think about trying property management software like RentRedi. RentRedi simplifies the entire renting process, collecting rent, listing properties, signing leases, and managing maintenance. With our software, you can easily manage multiple properties from a single dashboard, post your listings on popular real estate websites, track rental applications, and automatically collect rent. Tenants apply and pay rent right from their phone. Ready to give RentRedi a try? They're offering our listeners the 6-month plan for $1. Visit rentredi.com. That's RENTREDI.com and use the code OHIO1, Ohio and the number 1, to get 6 months of RentRedi for $1. It was so important to us, like you said, that we kept this campaign feeling real. We wanted to highlight those stories that we know already exist out there. I think that was something that we really felt good about from our side of things, was that everything in this campaign has a real feel to it. It's happening in real time from real stories from our real members and their real clients that they helped make their possible. And I guess that is where the theme of the campaign, "We'll Get You There," really was born out of all of this information, all of this research that we did, talking to everybody. That is where the "We'll Get You There" phrase came up. Mac, do you want to kind of talk a little bit about that phrase, about the thought process behind that, what that means, and kind of maybe some of the taglines that are associated with that phrase?
Yeah, absolutely. I think kind of what sits behind, distilling something into a campaign tagline, if you will, it's important to very quickly understand what sits underneath that, what sits beyond that, right? Because we lead or we close with this tagline. In this case, it's "We'll get you there." We lead or close with that, but ultimately we want to sandwich in a real story. So let me just kind of take a step back, and some of those messages that we collectively pulled from all of our research that we want to hit on. We want to reinforce that Ohio realtors are accountable to a code of ethics, that they are committed before, during, and after the transaction. They are experts on the buying and the selling process. And that's why I mentioned earlier about the process. They're also experts on the real estate market in their areas. And they are entrepreneurs. And the entrepreneurs is an important one because we as Americans celebrate entrepreneurs, entrepreneurialism, and that spirit, and the starting a business and succeeding in a business. And I think that combats any sort of sentiment that, again, from our focus groups that we heard, that some realtors felt that maybe an audience response or the public response was, gosh, they're a little, heavy on the sales. Or I think one realtor said, I'm afraid that we're interpreted sometimes as being pushy. But if we look at realtors through the lens of, these are entrepreneurs, these are folks that are hitting the ground running and making business possible and impacting lives. If we can tell those stories, then I think that any sort of semblance of, it's not my word, but pushiness gets interpreted through a different lens. And it's grit, it's determination, it's accomplishing something. So that's really what we wanted to hit. And We'll Get You There speaks to this notion that whether you're an individual looking to buy a home, a family settling down, retirees looking to downsize, a small business owner looking again to set up shop for the first time, finally open up that bakery and on a commercial side. Everyone has a vision for where they want to go. And it's not just four walls and a roof or a storefront on a sidewalk. It symbolizes and is a gateway to something bigger, a bigger vision, which is ultimately life. It's ultimately the personal and professional success. And so that notion of, you bring realtors into the process, you tell us what your there is, and we'll get you there. And that's really what it's rooted in. So we love it because, again, it's rooted in everything members told us and everything that they shared and contributed to form the foundation of this campaign. And it's so flexible. It's so adaptive to anyone's personal story in this space. So that's the reason behind it and how we got there, if you will.
There you go. One of the things that I love about the messaging of this, and I think this is one of the phrases that you guys came up as we were working on the advertising and what the campaign was actually gonna look and feel like, was that the realtors will help you from getting nowhere to getting there. And that is kind of how I sum up, if you don't work with a realtor and you're trying to buy or sell a home, what will happen. But then if you do, you'll get there. And I just loved that phrase so much, because that is what we do. We help make the most difficult transaction, hardest, most financially heavy transaction that most people are going to do in their lifetime, and we'll get it done for you. And I just loved that phrase in that part of the campaign. So that's kind of a little background history, an inside look into the campaign. But we successfully launched this thing back in March. And it's been really great so far. I think it's been received really well by not only our membership here, but also the consumers in Ohio. I think it's been received really well. Matt, do you want to walk us through the launch and kind of what that looked like, how we did that, and kind of like the first phase of this campaign?
One of the other aspects of the campaign we knew needed to be a part is this needs to be omni-channel. This needs to go across. This isn't just a social campaign. This isn't just a broadcast campaign. It's not a billboard campaign. It's an everywhere message. And depending on the channel, we're going to leverage that and tell as much of a story as we can, whether that's through a single photo and a few words, or a long story, a blog story that gets disseminated through email. We're going to tell it in all these myriad ways. And we are going to ask Realtor members to participate and in fact, encourage Realtor members to participate. The campaign launched. We started with paid social, paid digital. We've got a few great videos in the works that are going to be put out through other streaming and YouTube channels. We're disseminating messages through to membership, but also leveraging partners. We have statewide partners across the way that have an interest, that they're not in the real estate space per se, but they have an interest and they have an audience that we want to reach. So we're leveraging those partnerships or establishing partnerships where relevant and saying, hey, how do we get a message out from you to your audiences? So it's really combining advertising, paid advertising, good old grassroots communication where you're establishing partnerships and leveraging channels to get messages out there.
Yeah, and it's like I mentioned, it's been really well received so far. I think the last analytics I had you guys pull for us, it was like over 3 million individuals reached in Ohio. I mean, we've had thousands of ad clicks, thousands of engagements on our paid social media. So people are seeing this, they're liking it, they're reacting to it, they're sharing it. And then the member support too. I know, Ralph, you've been posting on your social media pages in support of this campaign. We've had other members that are taking some of the assets that are available, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and using that on their social media pages. And that's really the power of this campaign. And I think something too that we wanted to do with this campaign was to make sure that this was an everlasting campaign. And I think you guys mentioned in the beginning, this isn't something that we're just going to do for a month and then it was going to go away. We'll never talk about it again. We want this to be something that is going to exist, a year from now, 2 years from now, and that we would grow and evolve the campaign as we learned more about what our audience was responding to. So that's something I think that's important to mention too, is that this is going to be around for a long time. So if you're not on board with this campaign yet, make sure you're getting on board, because we're going to really make this a focus of our Ohio Realtors communications moving forward. And I'm really excited for what's next. And I know, Mac, you kind of hinted on what's coming down the road for us here really soon, but we will be launching our video assets on Hulu and YouTube here in the next few weeks. So you will see us on that if you watch any of those channels. We are going to be featured in the Ohio Realtors magazine that's going to be hitting your mailboxes very soon here in the next couple weeks. And then in convention, we have some fun things in store for you all at our convention happening this September. You're going to see a lot of materials around this campaign there too. Anything that I'm missing, Mac, as far as what we have to look forward to in the next couple weeks, months?
Not at the moment. I think that, as you said, this is a long game. And as Ralph said at the top, the importance of telling a story is forever important. Every organization is trying to speak to the general public in one way, shape, or form. Facts and figures and things are important. They'll only go so far. And I think this really is a platform to tell something deeper, more meaningful, and more impactful, ultimately about how realtors are changing the lives of Ohioans for the better and really helping move our state forward in very real ways. So I'm so excited about it. And I think really the sky is the limit.
Yeah, I think so too. And as we mentioned before, we are doing all this work on our side, and Mac and his team is helping us out too with running this campaign. But so much of this is on the shoulders of our members. And I think, Ralph, you're going to share a little bit with us about how our members can get involved, what's available to them, how they can be a part of this campaign, and why they should be supporting it.
Well, thanks, Allison. And Mac, thank you for filling in the history and where we've come from and where we are today. It has been an interesting ride so far, and I'm really looking to see where this is going to go. Our members, it's their program. Just think about this for 1 second. We have 36 roughly thousand members in the state. We're the largest trade association in the state. If each member just shared once a week, that's over 1.8 shares. That'd be huge. That's getting our story out there. It's not that hard. It's just a matter of investing and taking the time to go onto the Ohio website, go under the Realtor tab, look for the We'll Get You There button, and walk through it. If I can do this, anybody can do it. I mean, I still have an AOL email address. So, I'm ancient. To get on Photofy and basically click 2 buttons and share this to my social media pages, you guys can't make this any easier. And really, our members just need to do it once. And once they do it, it's so easy. And if they just put it on their calendars to say do it every Monday or Friday afternoon or whatever day they want to pick, we will get that message out there. And that's really what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise that bar on realtor awareness around the state. We're always trying to raise the bar on our professionalism. We do so much in every transaction. And again, we're just trying to tell that story. With a little bit of work from our members, we'll get you there.
Love that. Yeah. And as Ralph mentioned, there's so many assets that have been created for you guys that are available for you to use right now by visiting that webpage that Ralph mentioned, ohiorealtors.org. If you click the Realtors tab on the homepage and hit the We'll Get You There button, you'll see Photofy templates. You will see social media posts that you can save to your computer and post from there. We also created a form for you to tell your story of how you helped your clients get to there. And our idea with that is to feature you all and feature the great work that you're doing in some of these advertisements and the creatives that we're creating. So we encourage you to really be a part of this campaign. Share your story, share what you're doing. We already know you're doing it. We just need to do a better job of getting that information, getting that word out, and sharing the amazing stuff that you all do. And that will really just amplify this campaign and really take it to the next level. As Ralph mentioned, could you imagine if all of our members were posting about this campaign? It'd be really special and really cool, and just, another way for the community to hear the great stuff that's going on with Ohio Realtors. So that's kind of what the campaign is, where it exists, how to find it. And please reach out to myself if you all have questions about how to use the campaign, questions about what's available. I'm happy to answer any questions. Not only am I your podcast host, but I do also do other stuff at Ohio Realtors too. So please reach out to me if you have questions about this campaign. We hope that you all will use what's available for you and take this and run with it. But I want to thank you, Ralph and Mac, for joining me on the call today. Thank you guys for your leadership in this, and thanks for your hard work on making this campaign into what it is today. I know we appreciate it, and I know our realtors do too.
Allison, thank you and all of the staff at Ohio Realtors for everything that you guys do for us as the members. You make us look good out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, for
Thanks,
setting the
Mac.
tone, and for the leadership. And Allison, you all are fantastic to work with. So thank you all.
And to all of you guys, thank you for tuning in and listening. We will be back with you next week. We will talk to you then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.
There's a better way to back office, and that's with Brokerment. Get complete visibility into every transaction and manage them all from one dashboard. Automate commissions, organize financials, reduce compliance risk, onboard new agents, generate reports and dashboards in seconds. So if you are ready to handle every back office task and bring your teams, tools, and data together with Brokerment, visit brokerment.com/Ohio Realtors. Plus, see how you can score 50% off of the implementation fee. That's brokerment.com/Ohio Realtors.